Hey there, welcome back to the Wednesday upload. Today, I kind of just want to continue where we've been discussing and talking about of mental health, depression. How do you kind of get out of that? How do you move forward? I really appreciate, the comments that I've been getting and people reaching out to me, just sharing their stories and sharing where they are at and how they're overcoming it. That is all I've ever wanted by talking about it, by bringing it to light, was just to have an open conversation so that no one really feels alone. Because honestly, the topic that I want to talk about today is how to overcome failure. And that is such a common occurrence in our lives, throughout our lives, but not a lot of people talk about it. As you can see on YouTube or on social media, it's usually about the successes, the grandiose success from like zero to millionaire or whatever it is. And not enough people talk about how they overcame some of the hurdles that most likely occurred that got them to where they ended up in what we call success, right? I know I've had my share of many failures, especially in business and in my personal life. But even me, I don't think I've truly shared that enough, candidly. And so that's what today's is about. So, last week we really talked about how to come out of depression. I spoke about me adding routines and specific things in my daily routine that really helped me feel better about myself, about life. And then, today I was just in my yoga class and I was just thinking about, all the things that I've overcome. And sometimes when you are so deep into that depression or depressive state, maybe because of something happened or something didn't happen the way you wanted it to, it's very hard to even hear what someone like myself is saying on those last videos because you're just so deep in your shit. And so wanted to just give you, if you are in that state right now, a little hope, a little, I guess, just a little, a pick me up, a little pep talk that this is definitely not the end of the world and failure is just part of life. And the more we start to accept that and start really almost being grateful for it. I know it sounds so weird to put those two in a sentence, but hear me out. There's a process to the madness, I guess. But I guess why I'm saying to be grateful for failures is because no matter what, whether you see it now or not, anytime you don't get the thing you want or you run into failure, so to speak, you're learning something through that process. It is a learning curve. It is, things will show up for you about yourself, might not even have anything to do with the failure or the situation itself, but you're learning something. You're growing from that moment. And I would always say, when you are uncomfortable, you are in a growing state. So, my biggest, not biggest failure, but the one that really took me a long time to get over and still, I would say still kind of has somewhat of effect of me. Sometimes it's definitely not all the time as much as it was before, but it was my first business. It was an e-commerce, back before e-commerce was even a thing. It wasn't drop shipping or anything like that. It was a true traditional retail type of business where you purchase products, brands at wholesale, and then you sold them at retail, and yada yada yada. I didn't know what I was doing. I was very young at that time. I've been an entrepreneur now for almost 19 years of my life. So it is a constant battle of things are just not going to go your way, and you're going to run into failure. And so with this first one, it was kind of like my first big, I don't even want to use the word misstep anymore, because it wasn't. Because I do truly believe everything happens for a reason. It brings you closer to where you're supposed to be, or gives you more clarity. Like every failed attempt is getting you closer to your true end goal, or aligning yourself really to who you truly are. And so getting over that first one, it took a while. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna beat around the bush. Like, I would say once I realized that this was a failed business, that unless I was willing to put more money, and a lot more money, into it, there was really no way of remaking back that investment in any short time, or that I could even mentally handle. It was such a dark time. And I remember not getting up until like 3 p.m. every day, and then packing like 1 or 2 orders, if any, and then shipping them off before 5 o'clock, and then coming back and then just smoking smoking so much weed, really to like comatose myself. So I didn't have to feel, I didn't have to think, I didn't have to truly grapple with the emotions that I'm dealing with, because I basically lost 5 figures. Like, I would say, I think after everything, I lost about 40 to 50K. I originally started with 100 something. I was able to like at least save half, I guess almost half of it. But that was so hard. That was such a tough lesson to learn. And how I kind of got myself out, like, I didn't even realize until much later that this thing was basically a dark cloud over my head. But what I truly realized is a few things. When you are in this state, or in this stage that you feel like a failure, you feel like you failed at something, or you didn't achieve something you wanted to achieve, the first thing you gotta really like pick out or understand is what I already talked about. It's part of life. Feeling is just part of growth. And I'm gonna stop there, because that's truly as basic as it can get. Is you just gotta accept that this is part of life. Life is not always rainbows and butterflies and be happy and giddy. It's the ebb and flow of things, and sometimes things just don't work out. It just doesn't work out, whether it's personal, whether it's business. It's just not in the cards, and there's a reason for it, and we might not know the reason for it now, but there is a reason for it. And second, once you kind of accepted that, and accepted your feelings, and allow yourself to feel, is number 2. Allowing yourself to feel those deep hearted emotions, to process it, because I feel like if you don't feel it or allow yourself to feel it, you don't give it room to process, to leave your system and your body, because you're always holding on to it, right? But if you actually accept it, process it, it will start slowly dissipating, whether or not you realize it. But once you name it, once you give it, once you've kind of, pinpointed it, it's going to start losing its power on you. So that's 2. And then 3 is, no matter what, happened, or how it happened, whether it was, you think it's your fault or not, or external things happened, like for a lot of people who started businesses during COVID, they will then blame it on COVID, or there was just industries that really was affected. And I'm not saying that wasn't a real issue that affected your business or affected, because we're talking about business sense right now. Maybe you could have done something. You could have maybe shifted your business to support that current pandemic, right? So for an example, a lot of restaurants lost a lot of money because people were not allowed to go out. People were afraid to go out. All that kind of stuff. And it was, for a while, right? I've seen those type of restaurants, the ones that survived and the ones that are thriving right now, they shifted their business model. They added more to-go options in the sense of like a deli section. They made the food, fresh food, and then put it on the side and sold it for a little bit cheaper than if someone came in and sat down at the restaurant. But he saw it as a deli style, so you can come in and then just like pick and go and then go. It's like you're not really in contact with that many people, right? Like people were still needing to eat, or maybe they added a delivery service that they didn't have before, or they just were offering maybe like family meals to bake at home or to heat up at home, instead of having to go out and buy groceries or anything like that. It's like you need to sometimes bob and weave with the situation. So what I'm trying to say for number 3 is you got to accept your failure as your responsibility. Like you got to know that in some shape or form, you were responsible for that. Something you did, something you didn't do is what got you to this position. And sometimes you might think you did everything right. And it was a third external party that caused it all to crumble. But then I would ask, did you attract that person or that situation into your life that then caused all the crumble? Do you know what I mean? Because like at some point there's gotta be a form of accepting that responsibility. And when you do, you can kind of go to 4, which number 4 for me is no matter what, like I said in the beginning of this video, there's a lesson in that, right? And what I like to find for number 4 is not about the lesson yet, but what you did do right. What were the positive things that did go well for you, that you did do right? And this is where I kind of go off, and it's like how you want to think about it. It's like, where were your strengths? Because we all have strengths and weaknesses that are different to everybody. My strengths and my weaknesses may be different from yours. So you gotta pick out in that situation, what did you do right? And what were your strengths in that situation? So going back to that restaurant example, for the ones that failed, maybe your strength was to, I don't know, maybe it was to just shut it all down. And your strength was to foresee something that wasn't working and you wanted to start something different. Or maybe that was a calling for you just to take a break. And that was the strength for you to do that, because not a lot of people can foresee that when you're so stuck in that deep end, if you know what I mean. Or weaknesses could have been not being able to be more flexible in your offering or in your services. Like when you can really pinpoint what your strengths and your weaknesses are, you know for your next thing, whether it's personal or business, you know how to see it, how to move through it, how to maneuver it. Like it just becomes easier and easier. And that's what I've realized about my entrepreneurship journey, is that first one, like I said, was so fucking hard. Then the next one got a little bit easier. Then the next one got a little bit easier and got a little bit easier, because every time I measured and I pointed out, okay, here are my strengths, here are my weaknesses. And I had multiple like failed businesses. And then I can kind of go back, like almost take a step back and look at it and be like, oh, wait, the reason these businesses failed all have a common denominator and all have some sort of thing. So then I know I'm either going to have to work on that skill set or that thing, that my weakness, or I'm going to need to hire an expert that is really good in that area to take care of that part so I can just do my strengths, right? So it's about learning where you're at and really almost acknowledging yourself, because there are things that we're great at, but there's things that we aren't so great at. And I think there's sometimes too much emphasis on making up for your weaknesses or making up for things that you may not be good at or that you don't like, whereas it's just double down on your strengths. Like, why waste your time on your weaknesses? And I think there's sometimes, like maybe a personal life, I would say that's a different story, but business wise, there's no need for you to waste your time, your mental capacity, health, all of that on your weaknesses. Like, there is a reason that is a weakness for you, maybe because you don't like it, maybe because just the way, you were brought up or the education you went through or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. We all have different strengths and weaknesses, and what's kind of makes our world great, that we can work in collaboration with each other, help each other to that end success level, right? So, and I would say the last piece, number 5, is don't give up. I know it's really easy to just throw in the towel and just be like, fuck it, peace out. Like, even whether it's peace out from your job, career, business, relationship, or even your life and in this world. Sometimes it is just easier to just say, fuck it. But don't give up. Like, that's why I say, number 1, really accept those feelings. Allow yourself to feel those feels. And so that number 5 is not even on the radar. Like, it's not even part of your thinking. And so that, I'll give you a bonus one too that I would love to, and I would say this is, goes with all of it, but don't isolate yourself. And being a solopreneur for so long, that was probably one of my weaknesses. Like, I'm great at working in teams and all that kind of stuff, but I prefer to work alone most of the time. Or it's not that even I preferred it, it just was the case because I was the business owner and I created all my business around the lifestyle I wanted and what I wanted. Because the successful businesses that I have had, all was that. I was just purely working off of my strengths. I outsourced my weaknesses, and that was it. I just kept doing that instead. Once that clicked, I was like, why am I wasting my time? And so the isolation part is really difficult. I know when you're an entrepreneur, that's why you need to be part of networking groups. You need to shut things off at a certain time, especially if you're an entrepreneur. Or if you are deep in your career and you're just trying to push so hard for the next level, at some point you have to realize we weren't put on this earth to work. Really let that sink in. We weren't made to just work our whole lives and then what? Do you know what I mean? Life is more about than just work. Life is more about performing. It's more about all this crap that you can buy with the money. It's about living and experiencing and being in the present moment and doing things that make you happy and that you love, and having time for that and having time to decompress. Self-care, whether that is taking a vacation or just laying on the couch and doing nothing for a whole fucking day, even if that seems extremely uncomfortable, right? As an entrepreneur, that seemed really uncomfortable for me for a long chunk of like my journey. If I was laying down or playing video games or sitting around or even going for a walk, I was like, I can use this time to be doing more business, to be making more money, to be doing more. That doing more is what we have to erase from what we've been taught from society. Doing more is not going to get you to where you want to go, no matter how much these people sell it to you on social media about more, like hustle. I was totally part of that hustle culture, but fuck it, like it's not worth it. Hustling is not worth it. The more you hustle, you're just really hustling to get closer of the end of life. And you're going to look back and be like, what was that all for? So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of really all I got in that sense of overcoming failure. I really hope at least those 5 tips or what I've talked about will help you overcome this. It is never easy. What I say is just don't be hard on yourself. Like really, yeah, I don't even know, what else to say about that other than don't be hard on yourself, because it is so easy to be hard on yourself when things don't go your way, or especially when you've planned it to a T. You saw, this kind of, like you planned it, you prevented all the stuff, and it still fell on its face. Like, it's okay. I'm going to say this to end this. Sometimes things are just not meant to be in that time of your life. And there may not be an explanation for it at this time for you. You may not realize it. You may never realize it. But I hope you can find some sort of comfort in knowing that maybe it wasn't even about you. And I would say most of the time, it's not. It's not about what you didn't do, what you could have done. Sometimes it's just not the right fit. And the universe is working its magical ways to remove that from your life, to get you closer to the thing that you are meant to do. That is your true living purpose to achieve. So I hope that helps. I hope, you'll take some sort of comfort out of this. And I wish you all the best. And thank you again for watching. And I'll see you next week. And if you guys have any questions or things that maybe you want me to talk about, knowing a little bit more about me and my history and just what I've struggled through, and knowing that I'm kind of an open book. I'm willing to talk about these things because I truly believe we all need to share more of the downside of things, or the downfall, and how we get back up, instead of this crazy ass fucking success stories. As much as they are inspiring and they are really fun to look at, I think majority of us feel a certain way about ourselves when we see constant reminders of other people's success. At least that's true for me. Like, sometimes when I see it too much, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me that I can't do that? Why? What am I doing wrong that I can't achieve that? And then you start picking at yourself for no fucking reason that you don't need to do that. So let's talk about this more. Let's talk about other shit that is affecting our lives and bothering us. And yeah, I hope you overcome this as I know you will, as long as you kind of take some of what I said into consideration and just to try it out, see what works for you. Not everything I say is going to work for you, but maybe just that one little tidbit might. So I'll see you in the next one. You have a good one. You take care, and all the best. Peace.